Greenville was the kind of suburban town where people left their doors unlocked until the morning of September 17th. Mrs. Helen Caldwell, a beloved high school English teacher, was found brutally murdered in her home. Her neighbor had stopped by to return a borrowed book, only to discover a scene that would forever haunt the town. The front door was slightly open. A broken lamp lay by the entrance. And in the hallway, Helen's lifeless body. The initial theory: a break-in gone wrong. A robbery turned deadly. But as investigators began digging deeper, the case began to unravel, and not in the way anyone expected. Helen wasn't just a teacher. She was a widow with no children, known for her kindness, sharp wit, and late-night lesson plans. But behind the smile was a life carefully kept hidden. Detectives uncovered surveillance footage. No signs of forced entry, but a shadowy figure seen entering the home around 10:42 p.m. the night before. No valuables were missing. In fact, her purse was untouched. Something wasn't adding up. Then came the first twist. One of Helen's students, 17-year-old Caleb Myers, had been called in for questioning. He had a history of behavioral issues, but Helen had been one of the few who believed in him. Too much, it seemed. Text messages retrieved from her phone revealed frequent after-school meetups that went beyond tutoring. Some messages were personal. Caleb denied everything. But when pressed, he broke down. Yes, they had a bond. Yes, they had met in private. But, he claimed, she was scared of someone else. That someone else turned out to be Helen's late husband's estranged brother, Richard Caldwell, a failed businessman with a criminal record and a grudge. When Helen's husband died 3 years earlier, Helen inherited everything, including a piece of land later valued at over $300,000. Richard had contested the will and lost. Detectives followed the money trail, and it led straight to Richard. Bank statements showed he was in severe debt. Worse still, his fingerprints were found on a glass inside Helen's kitchen. When confronted, Richard cracked. But it wasn't a confession. It was a bitter rant about what Helen stole from the family. For a moment, it looked like the case was solved. But there was one final twist. A second set of prints was found on the broken lamp. Caleb's. Turns out, he had gone to Helen's house the night of the murder, uninvited, jealous, drunk. He discovered an email Helen had written to the school board, requesting to distance herself from him due to inappropriate boundaries. The confrontation turned violent. The lamp became a weapon. Richard, it seemed, had only arrived later, after Caleb fled. He didn't commit the murder, but in his rage, he left the scene undisturbed, hoping suspicion would shift his way and Caleb would be blamed. In the end, 2 lives were shattered, one taken and one ruined forever. The town of Greenville would never look at its quiet streets the same way again. Sometimes the darkest secrets lie behind the brightest smiles. And sometimes, the people we trust the most are hiding the most.